Hello, this is Jon Grubb, and this is the Automotive Engineering Final Process Creation presentation. We had several parts we needed to install, and for a takt time calculation, we had 430 minutes of available working time. The customer requirement is 206 pieces per day. The overall availability of time of the line was 96%. So doing the calculation, that left us with a takt time of 2.00 minutes exactly, or 120 seconds. So I was on the spaghetti team, team one. This is me, Jon Grubb. And so let's get right into spaghetti diagrams. This is what I spent my time on. So we'll notice right away in the initial trial, we had a lot of walking, a lot of long lines going back and forth across each other. Looks like a pile of spaghetti. All right. We also noticed that there was a rack that we did not need. Um, There was a lot of walking, and the order of assembly did not seem to be favorable. So these are the initial numbers. We had a 78.06 seconds total walk time and 85.31 seconds of operation time. So once again, looking at the initial process, these are the order of operations. There was no ergonomic assessment as this is looking for change, and we needed to compare where we were starting. We had a 46.6% utilization and a 183-second cycle time. All right, so let's immediately jump into getting better. The first thing we did was we changed some points. We lost a rack, and we changed the rack locations physically. All right. We realized even after this, the racks are still too far apart. We need to move them closer to the starting pitch mark. And we noticed Josh was spending a lot of time getting bolts. Um, So what do we do next? We move the racks towards the pitch start, and we found some pouches that we gave Josh to put bolts in and latches in. And then we ran the next trial. And after that trial, we see that the racks are still too far apart. We want to continue to move them closer to center. They're not very far apart now, but inches matter. And we swapped the latches for the ID4 knobs in the pouch, move some parts around on the rack. One thing I did notice as I learned how to use this notation to follow the movements, and this was in the sample, but it really didn't register with me until I had to go do it myself. And once I started using it, it's like, that's how you use that. All right. The change points. We moved the racks as close together as we could. We changed part locations and we put ID4 knobs in the pouch. And our results show that the toolbox in particular, this long walk we see here, um, that was still too far. We need to move it. And another thing that I'll tell you that I learned is when I physically had to draw this line, it actually had an impact on me. I knew somebody was walking this line. Um, and the latch move to get them out of the pouches, that was actually Josh's idea. We asked him, is this helpful? And he said, no, not really. I need to be able to see them. And so putting them on a rack where I can see them before I pick them up will help me. And so that's what we did. All right, trial five. Um, all we moved was some part locations on the rack. Um, at this point, the only thing we noticed was that the toolbox was a high pickup, and it was one of the heaviest parts. So it was on the top rack. We wanted to move it to a lower level. And looking at the identified waste, there were several things we weren't able to see everything, like a stock problem or a travel problem, but we could see some movement issues, unnecessary processes. I did note one insufficient communication, and that was really on us as the process engineers. We should have discussed the details between test runs. Maybe one of us would have picked up on the fact that the process for the headlight connection needed to happen before the brace, but we just missed it because we were focused on doing other things, but not communicating with each other as well. All right, final design. There were some change points. We changed part locations on the rack was it. We had some nice successes and repetitions would show further opportunities, but we're out of time. We do have a pretty compact motion. Um, ID7 or number 17 was the ID4 novice installation, and that really should not have been done. It was not part of this standardized work group. So if it was eliminated like this, which is what I'll use in our calculation, this is the way it should have been. All right, here's our final results. We wound up with 35.7 seconds of walk time and 76.66 seconds of operation time. So that is in many cases better, and in almost every case better than the initial. Well, let's break it down individually. So for the first couple of processes, we got better at walking in both cases. Our operation was faster at one and slightly slower in the other. So changing operations does not always make it simpler. Sometimes you sacrifice some for the greater good. Um, we also got longer in our tail light walk. It was in a really good spot on the initial trial, but we got better at both operations. We got better walking for trunk trim and operation. We got better at walking for the toolbox, but the operation actually took a little bit longer. That was one of our slow cycles. Um, and finally, the ID4 uh, assembly, if we don't do it at all, both of those wind up being savings for a total of 42.36 seconds of improvement on walking and 8.65 seconds of savings in operation. And so that gave us, and looking at it from an ergonomic standpoint, we can actually review what got better and worse. We got better at headlight assembly. The brace really was about the same from start to finish. Same with the inside trim, the cup holder. The front latch and rear latch both got better. The tail light was about the same either way. The trunk trim, we got better at that, particularly in handling it off the rack. And same thing with the toolbox. So we were 68.2% utilized as an end result. And we had a total target time or cycle time of 112.4, which is still above our target of 110. Now, there were several things I noted on why the ergonomic assessments were such as the headlights should have been done first the whole time. The brace was about the same. The order of operations did help walking to install the brace. We'll go on to the end results and lessons learned, which are we were to design a process to meet the ergonomic requirements. And Josh's motions did improve greatly with successive iterations. But if we were able to do more work, we would see more things. And it's still not good enough if you had to do this hour after hour. But you could change the car elevation, tool changes, some purpose-built racks. Many things could improve the body postures for these operations. Looking at the takt time requirements, we did meet the challenge. There was a challenge target of less than 110.4 for a cycle time variation buffer. We did not achieve that. The high value added, we had a value added score of 68.2%, but we did not recognize the ID4 assembly as a non-standard work element. I've given us credit for it, but we missed that in our work. The low non-value added, our walking time reduced by 42.4 seconds. That was a big change. All right, lessons learned. There is no substitute for Gemba observation and hands-on training. I've seen many of these things, but never done them myself. This time I was able to do a few myself, and it made a difference. There are many components to process creation, and all must be considered. There are many, many steps involved in doing this well. And the tools really are very helpful. I'd never spent much time with a spaghetti diagram, but after my time with it, just in this process, I understand that particular diagram creation and usage much better than I did before the training session. I missed several other things because as I was focused on movement, such as the non-standard work, I know to look for that, but I didn't pick up on it. I was focused on just where were the spaghetti lines going. And I also needed to go back and watch videos for the ergonomic movements and wastes that I missed focused on walking. So I want to say thank you to Fatima for making that possible. So finally, thank you. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Here's my email. It's been a pleasure working with each of you. Have a great day. Thank you.